Hi guys, it's time to do a new series I think I want to start, and it's called Let's Talk About TVR, because, TVR's got its own fair share of issues. But it also has a lot of things going for it. But today we're going to talk about one of what I think the most controversial issues are, and that would be artifacts. So as everybody knows, the artifacts in this game can only be found through a few sources. You have Dangath on the weekends. You have the Citadel grind through cultural books, but nobody really does that because of the low chances. So that's not really much of an option. And then you have trinket hunting. So that's about it in terms of that. But what I wanted to talk about is what I think about the artifacts and what I would love to see your guys' thoughts on the artifacts. So give me your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe, we keep chatting and all that fun stuff. I probably put a link to my Discord in the description, so we can chat there, ping me every once in a while. It'll be good. But my thoughts on the artifacts right now, as they are, most of them don't feel terribly inspired in the sense of they don't have a but they don't seem to have a very build-defining trade-off. So, for example, you have Shield Charm. You do a little less damage, but you take a little less damage. It sounds good in concept, but the execution here is a little bit flawed. In the case of, for example, Naturalist, it's really good for Naturalist because you're not losing too much damage, but that's damage reduction that you get, just Needle Flurry, Barrage, and Rogue's Flurry is just non-existent to you in terms of damage. It hardly does anything. Not saying that as an artifact these shouldn't be powerful, but what I think should happen is stuff like this that you can just find by looting it, not necessarily having to go somewhere or maybe do something to get it. They shouldn't feel as powerful. Maybe they should just be small add-ons to your build, and the more build-defining and powerful items should be found elsewhere. So that's kind of my thoughts on things right now, just because most of them don't necessarily have much of a downside. And you have two artifacts like Mending Soul and Binding Essence. They're not terribly useful either, honestly. Binding Essence is really only good for a farming account if you have very specific items you want to keep, and even then it's not that good. And Mending Soul isn't necessarily worth the trade-off. For those of you that watched my Artifact Showcase video, obviously it is very luck dependent, but I died like 6 or 7 times and kept losing lives. He had to restore me just to show that it did work. So the only artifact that I think really does define a player's build is Vampire Hurt. And that is because you're becoming a vampire, but you have all these other hazards that really can melt you if you're not careful, which those would be fire. Mostly just fire, but Judgment now lights people on fire if you have Vamp Part equipped, so that would really hurt. Instead of Judgment doing, say, 8 damage against Vamps, it does a lot more. So it's really powerful for that, which is great. But the other ones could just use a bit of inspiration. I would say Mending Soul and Binding Essence could use a bit of a rework. Binding Essence, I would say you could keep everything on death, but maybe add something new to it to make it a little bit more versatile for the quote-unquote average player. But I think we'll leave it at that. And yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. Spread the video around if you enjoy and all that fun jazz. And I'll see you guys later.